Hey guys, I hope you enjoy this video. It's basically just a video of me rambling on and answering questions that you guys asked me a very long time ago, months ago actually to be exact, and I'm finally sitting down and answering them properly. And I hope this kind of gives you a bit of insight into who I am as a person. I hope it's interesting. If not, just put it on in the background as white noise, but enjoy. Okay, so the first product I'm going to use is the Charlotte Tilbury Spotlight Hollywood Beauty Light Wand, and I'm just going to pop it under my cheekbone, just to give it a bit of glow before the foundation. So the first question you guys wanted to know was, am I studying at the moment or did I go to uni? So I actually did go to uni. Well, it wasn't really uni, it was more like associate degree. I did fashion design and tech, and honestly, that was my dream career. It's so crazy thinking or looking back at it now, and just to think that I'm so far from it. But I guess in some ways beauty and fashion do cross over. I honestly thought at this point in my life, I would be in London or Paris or New York working for a designer or, somehow magically creating my own brand. And for anybody who knows a bit about the fashion industry, it just really doesn't work that way. It takes a lot of hard work to be able to have your own label. And I'm not talking about the type of clothing where you just buy what you see off Alibaba and resell it. I'm talking about couture, creating real collections, all from scratch, all from concepts. And that kind of fashion is very different, and it's very, very hard to get your foot through the door. And I think by the time I graduated, I realized I really wasn't that passionate about it anymore. And so I kind of just scrapped the idea, and I didn't even bother going into the industry. I just stayed in the beauty industry that I was already in, and I just kept working my way around. I'm taking a bit of the custard concealer and just putting it on as my base, my eyeshadow base. But yeah, I just thought to make it in the industry, you have to give it your all. And people that go in with big dreams but don't love it that much don't end up succeeding, unfortunately, because it's such a brutal and savage industry. Like, if you're not 110% in it, and if you're not willing to pretty much live off of $5 for the next 15 or 10 years, then you don't love it enough to push through. I mean, there's definitely other jobs in the industry. Like, you can be a buyer, an accessories assistant, or whatever you can think of that's more just fast fashion. There's so many jobs in that, and especially with heaps of fast fashion brands continually growing in the fashion industry, there's a lot of jobs, but I wasn't interested in that. I was interested in real high fashion. And so that's why I just thought it's just really not for me. I'm not going to waste my time on it. And I've always been like that with most things in my life. If I don't like it enough, I don't like the job enough, I won't stay for very long, because I think it's just a waste of time. The only thing that doesn't apply to is boys, unfortunately, and I will go through that later on, but for some reason I couldn't apply that to the rest of my life. But with everything else, work, job, whatever, uni, if I don't like it enough, I won't push through, because it's wasting everybody's precious time. I'm just going to quickly set that with the Charlotte Tilbury powder. I'm actually going back to study this year, which is really, really exciting. I am not a very academically driven person, and I have never been.
2 + 2 is 4, right? And 5 + 5 is 10. Okay. What the fuck is this?
And I've always been interested in more creative fields. So this is going to be a really interesting challenge for me. I don't know if I'm going to make it through the first year, but we'll have to see. I'm going to use the Mario palette that I just got. I'm going to use it to shape and contour my eyes. I've used it on a couple of clients pre-lockdown, and I'm obsessed. I wish I got it earlier, honestly, but it was quite expensive, so I just held off on it. But now that I have it, I'm obsessed. I might take the color on the end. But anyway, I am going back to uni, and I'm super, super excited about it. And like I said, I'm really nervous because I just find that I don't do that well in academically driven roles. But I think now that I'm a lot older than when I graduated when I was 21 in my fashion course, and I think I was still really young at the time, and I was really immature in the sense that I was kind of just a bit airy-fairy about things that I wanted. I think what I've realized in life is that you always get pushed to study something or know what you want to study when you are fresh out of school. And I think that's the worst time, because everyone just wants to have fun. You've been in school for the past 13 years, including prep, and all you want to do is go out, have fun, enjoy yourself, and you're finally free from the shackles of school, and you finally get to discover who you are as a person. And there's so much pressure to know what you want to do, but I feel like that's the perk of deciding what you want to study on, like long term later on in life, is that you get so much freedom to discover and explore what you actually are passionate about. And I feel like I've finally found that. I'm not going to say exactly what I'm doing just for privacy reasons, but I'll just say that I will be doing something within the skincare industry and just developing my skills in that area. The only reason I'm not disclosing the actual course and where I'm studying the actual degree is because it's just for privacy reasons. My hair is so frizzy, as you can see. There's a lot of like broken ends. So I'm just going to tie it back because it looks crazy with it hanging down. I'm going to go in with the same palette and I'm going to go in with a slightly darker color. I'm going to go in with the one on the end. I'm going to go on the outer edge. So how did I get into makeup? That's the second question. I was at a beauty retail store at the time that I was studying fashion, and it was just like a casual job to get me through uni. And I've always been into makeup, even when I was like in year 9. I was in the first wave of people that got into YouTube and beauty makeup tutorials and stuff like that. So I was like watching Michelle Phan. I would watch like Juicy Star 07. I don't even think she's around anymore, but she was like popping at the time. Like she was so famous. And I was watching her stuff and it got me so into makeup because I'd never seen anything like that before. I think growing up, I was told like, you know, makeup's for adults and stuff like that. And so finally YouTube just opened this world of like magic. And I was always so curious. And I never wore makeup at high school other than like once in a blue moon, I would like dare to wear mascara because, you know, makeup was banned at school. So I'm going to use this Icy Fantasy Morphe palette. And all I'm using is just the pink. I don't really want anything else. I'm going to use the pink to blend out the front just to give it a bit of color. I don't know. This video is like all over the place. I'm just doing whatever I want today. There's no real look I'm going for. I'm just going to take a fluffy brush and buff it in. But that's how I got into makeup. And when I applied for this role at this makeup store that I still work at today, I had no experience whatsoever, and they kind of just took me on, which I really appreciate, because at the time in most retail roles, and even now, I think brands will always ask for experience, but it's one of those things like, where do you get experience if no one will give you the experience? But this was the one company that would actually let you, you know, grow within the brand and learn and build up your skill set, which is something I'm still really grateful for, because without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. I remember only ever serving customers there and just watching the makeup artists do makeup on other people. And even then, when I was watching them, I never imagined myself being in that position. I was always just like, wow, you're so talented, like, or wow, that's so cool, and like what you're doing is so cool. And I would interrogate the makeup artist and I would always ask them stuff. And I still remember asking a makeup artist that worked with me at the time, I was like, can you tell me what you think the best of this is? And she got really annoyed at me and she was like, well, everyone's best is different, blah, blah, blah. And she was just really annoyed that I was asking her all these questions. I feel like that should never deter you from asking the professionals questions. Like, that's the only way you learn. And it's people like that that make people scared of asking questions. And I feel like if you annoy someone, so what? It doesn't even matter. Like, that's their issue, that's their problem if they don't have the patience to answer your question. But that should never deter you from being curious. And still today, when I am with girls that I work with and they do makeup artistry, I will still interrogate them too, because everybody's style is so different and you'll never stop learning. And that's the only way to really build experience and understand the industry better, is if you always are curious. Next, I'm going to take the P. Louise eyeshadow base, and this is in the color 2. It's called Rumor 2, and I'm just going to carve out like my eyelid space just to make it more white. I'm almost doing like a soft cut crease, which I never do, but we're doing all sorts of things today. So the next question was tips for people just starting out in freelancing. Honestly, it's funny that I'm getting this question because I still feel like I'm like a massive newbie to the industry, and I've only just started in the past like 2 or 3 years, which is still really new, because if you think about it, the first year is pretty much like a write-off, because your clientele and your client base is pretty much non-existent, and you're pretty much relying on like friends and family to practice or have faith in you. I brought it up too high. Anyway, we're just gonna go with this. People underestimate the power of word of mouth. I find that most of my clients have come to me because they've heard about me from someone else. And yes, they've seen my page, but that doesn't prove anything. Like, you can have the most beautiful photos, but if you are not very nice, if your makeup is not that good in person, or if you are, I don't know, whatever reason that would make you a bad makeup artist. I'm just going to extend the eye out a little bit with a slightly darker brown. I'm just going to pull it out because I think that cut crease rounded off my eye way too much.
It happened.
Another question I got was, I don't want to do bridal makeup anymore, but I want to stay in the business. And bridal makeup is really just one aspect of the business. Like, who says you have to do bridal makeup? People don't realize how stressful bridal makeup is. There is so much pressure to perform on the day, and obviously with any client you still need to perform well, but there is something about bridal makeup that is just on another level. And I think when you're new to the business, it is so stressful, and I would consider myself someone who's quite new to the game and quite new to the industry. Every bride I have, like, I'm so stressed out because I don't want to fuck up their day. And you only plan to get married once usually, and there's nothing wrong with getting married twice, but most people only plan on getting married once, and I don't want to be the person that was like fucking up their makeup on the day of. Like, everything was perfect but my makeup. I don't want to be that person responsible for that. I freaking love this Shiseido thin eyeliner, and it just gets the ends really nice and sharp, and I love using it for the inner corner, which I'll do later. But yeah, with bridal jobs, like, who says you have to do bridal work? Like, it doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want, whatever you're happy with and whatever you're comfortable with. At the end of the day, like I said, you can only do a job that you're happy with, and you can't do it long term if you're really that unsatisfied or if it doesn't like feed your creativity. And that's another thing with bridal work, is that everything is just very similar. Bronzed, glowy, like soft eyes, and if you prefer working with color, then usually bridal work isn't the way to go. So I'm going to use slightly shorter lashes than I normally do. These are from Kiss Lashes, and these are called Pixie. They're kind of like the Demi Wispies. I always buy like a spare eyeliner just dedicated to filling out lashes. So I just fill out the lash on the top just to hide the clear band, otherwise you can see it through my eyes. I've got the lashes on, but I think I'm going to add in a few individual lashes. So I'm going to use some of the individual lashes from Harbour, and these are really weird because they're like split in the middle. I don't know if you can see them, but there's like a gap in the middle, and they just make your eyes look really wispy.
Bijan for men? Bijan for men?
Next question was, how did you get your job at beep? Place that I work at now. I'm not going to say the actual name just for privacy reasons, and I don't want to get in trouble with the company as well, but it seems like you guys put two and two together because someone asked me. All I'm going to say is that it's a really famous beauty retailer. There's not that many in Australia, so you can do the maths there. I got the job so many years ago, and this question was asking me about my interview experience and what it's like working there as well. I've been there for 5 years, and obviously I've been very happy because I've obviously stayed there for quite some time. I feel like 5 years is quite some time for a retail job, but I've been really happy. They train me really well. I really love the girls I've worked with, and your team that you work with makes the job what it is. The job has been a dream. I think the only shit thing about the job is, like, sometimes I always say this to people, like, the job is never really the shit part. This is going to be very controversial, but sometimes customers are the ones that make the job shit, you know? Like, it's never really the team. Like, the team is always on the same page. A lot of the time, the people that you serve are the one that makes your life a lot harder than it needs to be. But I will leave it at that because otherwise I'll get in trouble if I say too much. The interview process was such a long time ago. What I remember it being was at a hotel, and we went up to the function room, and basically we did like quick, rapid one-on-one interviews. It was really easy in that sense. There was not that much pressure in the first round. It's just like getting to know the managers, and I guess in that sense you're really just hoping that you make a really good first impression. And then I got invited to do a one-on-one interview, and I think I always have preferred one-on-one interviews because you get to I feel like you're just less nervous, pretty much. It's just like a one-on-one chat. And I felt like the person I got that interviewed me at the time, I got so lucky because she was like really, really lovely. And I've just always just been so grateful that I've had her, and she was just really lovely. And I got the call and I got the job, and yeah, and here I am like 5 years later, still working there. I can't really be very specific because I think it's an issue of privacy for the company. I'm pretty sure I signed a contract a while ago about social media privacy, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. Overall, if you can figure out where I work at, it's pretty obvious. I personally really like it. I can't speak on behalf of anybody else, but great job. And I'm going to move on to the base. I'm going to use the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter. This is new, and I'm just still trying to figure out how to work with it. I've used it on a couple of clients and stuff, but I am still trying to figure out whether I like it or not. But it's meant to just smooth out the skin. I guess it kind of does work.
What can I get here that has no sugar, no carbs, and is fat-free?
Next question, worst client stories and rude customers. I feel like I've been really lucky in the sense that I've never had really terrible or horrible clients. Like, I think you just have clients that you don't really click with and you probably would never be friends outside of that. But I can only really think of one person, and I think they were on the same wavelength as well, in the sense that they could vibe, that we were just not clicking. And I'm really grateful that she ended up finding someone else to do her bridal makeup, because we were just not seeing eye to eye. And yeah, it just worked out really well. She never chose me to do her bridal makeup, and I think she ended up choosing an artist that she preferred much more, and that was great. I think the issue was that she had something in her mind that she was coming in and she was expecting to leave looking like. She ended up just like telling me what to do. And there's nothing wrong with saying you have preferences and telling the makeup artist that you like things a certain way. If you really love having eyeliner on the bottom of your eye, then they can do that for you. But when you start directing them to do this and that, and you have to do it this way, or like, I just want this and that, it kind of just, the artist ends up losing their style. And so you're going to leave with a makeup look you didn't want because you came in wanting the makeup artist's like aesthetic, and because you've told her what to do, you're going to leave with something else. You're going to end up leaving with how you want to do your makeup, and that's just a completely different, that just never works out. And so it was just one of those cases, and there were no hard feelings whatsoever. It's not one of those bitchy like, oh my god, like she did this, she did that. It was just like, we're not on the same wavelength. And I was just like, it just made sense when she didn't end up choosing me to do her bridal makeup. And yeah, I guess that's the beauty of doing a bridal trial, is that you get to figure those things out, because you want someone on the day of your wedding to be on the same page as you, and you want to be on the same wavelength. And so that's why I always recommend, please do a bridal trial. It's not just to get the look right, it's also just to see whether the energy is right. And I sound like a hippie when I say that, but you know, you click with some people and you don't click with others, and it's just the way it is. No hard feelings. Customers, rude customers, fuck, do I have so many of those stories. And I feel like I'll get in trouble if I tell too many, but maybe I tell some from my old job even. There is a really big issue with older people being fucking rude. And I guess you get to a point in your life where you think like you don't really care about what other people think of you, and I love that, and I appreciate that, and I hope that one day I'll get to that stage in my life where nothing fucking matters. But I still think having some sort of common courtesy is really important. So if you're a person who is quite stern and quite rude to someone at retail, I'm telling you now, like, it is not okay. Pushing people's limits is not the way to get your way. If anything, I'm always going to be more lenient to people that are much sweeter, much nicer. I will try to like bend the rules for people like that. But if you're going to be a piece of shit from the get-go, like, there's no way you're going to get your way. I definitely think there's a really big issue with people thinking that if you're stern or if you're really firm, you always get your way, but it's actually not the case. Being nice will get you much further than being an asshole. Christmas time, for some reason, brings out the worst in people. I've had like middle-aged men come through and demand that the item be in stock. And it's like, you decided to come a day before Christmas and get the item that you wanted, and now you're throwing a hissy fit because we don't have the item. Like, first of all, like, just because you're a man doesn't mean you get to stand over someone and sort of intimidate them. Like, I know it when guys try to intimidate younger girls, and it's just bullshit. And this guy was throwing an absolute fit because we didn't have one of the items in stock. And it's like, if you really gave a shit about the person that you're buying for, you probably would have bought it a long time ago. That's just like, make that clear. You can't come into the store demanding people to have something in stock when you came a day before. Like, that's fucked. It's just embarrassing.
Are you not ashamed of yourself? Are you not embarrassed? This is really embarrassing.
When you're like a middle-aged man and you're just like throwing a temper tantrum about a fucking notebook, for example, like, what? People that have never worked in hospitality or retail or have ever had a job in uni or high school, it really shows, because those are the people that usually are the ones that have a big fuss and like over little things, or just throw a temper tantrum when they don't get their way. I just realized I did my concealer and I did not record any of the questions. Luckily, I've only answered one question, but I've done my concealer and I'm still waiting for a bit of it to set. And I'm gonna answer that fucking question again. Here we go.
He cute or whatever.
So the next question was about my love life. So it was about Jeff. How did you meet Jeff? So Jeff and I met at a club. How romantic, right? I actually approached him. Isn't that funny? I was just at a point in my life, and I'll just give you like a little preface to what I was like as a person a couple of years ago. I was at a point in my life where I was talking to heaps of dickheads, and I was being like a bitch sometimes to some of the guys, really savage as well. So it was just like karma, like colliding. And I was just like, fuck it, I don't really give a shit anymore. My attitude changed. It just like flipped pretty much. And when I met him, I was at like the peak of like, I don't give a shit. And I was just like kind of the person that would go up to a guy at the bar and be like, hey, do you want to have a drink? Like I hated beating around the bush. Like, you know, when you're just like staring at each other all night at the club or the bar or whatever, at a party, and you're just like, does he like me, does he not, like whatever. I was just like, fuck it, I'm so over that. Like, and I think it's a very common thing in like Asian clubbing as well, for everybody to just be like staring at each other and like not saying a word. And it's like, fuck it, you know, just go up and ask someone if they want to have a drink, because then you'll be wondering all night whether they want to or not, and then the time will pass and then everyone's going home and everybody's already wasted. So just go up to the person. If you want to have a drink with someone, go up to them, and if the guy really wants to have a drink with you, they'll usually end up paying anyway, so you won't have to be out of pocket, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to go in with the Liquid Laguna bronzer, and I'm going to pop a bit on the back of my hand. I'm just going to do a bronze of the outskirts of my face. But anyway, so I went up to him and I was just like giving him shit about what he was wearing. I was just making a joke out of it. And this was when the club was all closed, and so we're all like outside, and you know when the club closes and it pours out onto the street, it was kind of like that. And I was pretty much just talking shit to him and just giving him shit for what he was wearing at the time.
Nice wig, Janice. What's it made of?
Your mom's chest hair.
We were just having a good laugh. Funnily enough, we never really exchanged numbers or anything. Like, I don't know if I just went up to him so that I could talk shit and just make my presence known, and we never exchanged numbers and stuff. And somehow a couple of weeks later, he found me on Instagram, and he never really even bothered to interact with me, to be honest with you. We just kind of followed each other for a while, and then he started like interacting with my posts randomly, and we would kind of bump into each other here and there. And then one day he tried to ask me out to dinner, and I was like, yeah, I'll think about it. And then I ended up cancelling the day before. So I cancelled the night before because I had work the day of the plan to have lunch. And I already knew I had work like ages ago, but I just couldn't bother telling him. So then I ended up being really lazy and telling him the day before. I'm a massive bitch. I know you shouldn't do that because karma gets you good. And I've spoken to him since about this, and he was like, I just thought I'd give it one more shot. Like, and if you bailed, then I just probably wouldn't have given a shit. Yeah, fair enough. And then so I said yes, and I said I don't want to have lunch, I only want to have dinner, because I'm just a bitch. Anyway, we had dinner, and pretty much the rest is history. Like, ever since then we've been together. Like, obviously with most couples, like, we've had hiccups and stuff, and we've had breaks and stuff. So yeah, in total we've kind of been together for like 3 or so years ish. But yeah, that's how we met. It's not very exciting. If anything, it's more like a ratchet like clubbing story, but one to tell the grandkids. The next product I'm going to use is the Charlotte Tilbury blush. It's in the color Pinkgasm. I'm going to do pink on my cheeks just to kind of match the eyes and tie everything together. This is going to be like a cute romantic like look.
What was the reason? I just explained the reason.
The next question I got asked was, do I have trust issues? And it's a question I did not expect. I thought everybody would send in like beauty questions, but kind of appreciate it because it's a good question. Do I have trust issues? The answer to that is no. I do not have trust issues with Jeff whatsoever. We have always been like that. I feel like sometimes you'll question things like, because it's like, that's a bit weird. But deep down in my gut, like I've always known like he's fine. Because like I've been with people, or like I've spoken to people, technically he's my first boyfriend, but I've spoken to people before and I've seen people before that I've known something was not right. And your gut will always tell you everything you need to know. Like if someone is acting up and being weird as fuck, like trust your gut, because I've been played before and it's not cute when you don't trust your gut. But with Jeff, I've never had to really question that, or like have had to like dig deep into my gut and be like, is something wrong? This is the thing, right? Like I think in the past, I've always been interested in people that I felt were like, oh my God, like you're so amazing. Like you're so incredible. And like, I'm so lucky. So pretty much you're putting someone else on a pedestal. And when you put someone else on a pedestal, you're basically not seeing or understanding your worth. And two people should always be equal. Like you can have money, you can have like the smarts, you can be really educated, you can be all those things. But at the end of the day, like two people, no matter who you are, color, race, age, you should be equals. And I feel like when you start a relationship and you already feel that imbalance and you put someone on a pedestal, that's when trust issues come in, because you already think they're so much better than you and they're capable of finding someone else. And that's basically the preface of the relationship. And when Jeff and I got together, that was not the case at all. Like, we're equals, and I don't think he's better than me. I don't think I'm better than him. He does whatever he wants. He goes out a lot because that's just his lifestyle and he enjoys that sort of social life. I'm now more of a homebody. I prefer to stay at home. Back then I did really enjoy like a night out, but it's not the case for me anymore. Like, I've changed a lot in the past couple of years. I just prefer staying at home because I just feel really depleted of energy if I go out and expend it too much on like socializing, and I just sort of like staying at home a bit more. Wow, I'm really like feeling this blush. It's a really nice color, oh my god. Because he goes out so much, there needs to be some sort of a trust between him and I. Otherwise, there's no way our relationship would work, because there's a lot of temptation when you go out. Like, if you go out on a night out, especially where he goes out to, like, the girls are gorgeous. Like, if you aren't 100% sure of yourself, like, you'll be questioning his intentions the whole time. And it takes two to tango. Like, it's up to you to be confident in yourself, but it is also really important for your partner to feel very secure. And he always, reassures me that, I'm the only one, that he really loves me and whatnot. And he always reminds me of that. And he always reminds me that he only has eyes for me. And I think as a partner, that sort of open communication and that reassurance is really important. And maybe you don't like hearing it verbally, but maybe your partner needs to show you in other ways. But I think there just needs to be some sort of mutual understanding that you're both just there for each other. Does that make sense? I'm not a relationship expert, but that's one topic I can really speak on, because no matter how pissed we are at each other, there's always going to be the trust that we respect each other. Does that make sense? I'm just going to tap a bit more of that highlighter, that Spotlight Charlotte Tilbury highlighter, back in, just to give it a bit more of a glow. And I find that I really, really like using this because it doesn't disrupt the foundational stuff that I've popped on underneath. It just gives it a bit more of a glow again. So I'm going to set my under eyes now. I'm just going to press it back out just so everything's nice and smooth. And then I'm just going to press it in. But the next question was, if you could go back in time, what would be the one thing you would do differently? Woo, I can speak on this one. Honestly, like, I spent so much of my early 20s giving a fuck about guys. If I could go back, that's the one thing I would take back. Like, who gives a shit? Started when I was like 19 with the first guy I was ever infatuated with. And I really hope he's not watching this, because I don't even want to give him the satisfaction of that. And who would have thought, like, after that whole fiasco, I would spend the next like 3 or 4 years of my life wasted, like, hung up on stupid dickheads. Like, to be fair, I'm going to preface this now by saying that I was not always a saint. Like, I was constantly setting the bar so high for myself and being so picky. And when really nice people came along, like, and that didn't match the criteria on my list, I would just like bar them and I would be really rude. So I do recognize that I am not a saint at all. And I've done really bad things in terms of like ignoring people and really nice and lovely people as well. So I'm no saint, but in return, karma has served me with some of the worst people ever. So it's just one of those things where, if I could tell you one thing, like, karma's a bitch. I wish I never spent my early 20s giving a shit about guys. There was so much to be happy about, so much like joy to be felt through friends, having freedom, because once uni's done, like, real life, kicks in. And I wish I never gave a fuck, because I spent so much time trying to seek validation from guys. I was young and so were these guys, so I don't know what I was expecting them to do, like put a ring on my finger. And I think I was so swept up in this fantasy or this romanticized life that Hollywood has sold you, that, you're gonna meet the one and blah, blah, blah. I don't know what to say. Like, it's just not always the case. You want to spend your early 20s like traveling, living life. Like, I didn't realize that until I went to America for 7 weeks with my girls, and holy shit, I had the best time of my life. Like, 7 weeks in America, we had the craziest time. Hands down, still one of the best trips I've ever been on. And I had the best time with my girls, and it had nothing to do with guys. And don't get me wrong, having a companion by your side and having a partner is so beautiful and it's so amazing and it's fantastic. But being by yourself and being with friends and traveling is something that is just as incredible. And this is really a message for anybody who is struggling with boys and is just constantly finding that they're meeting the same dickheads. And it's not necessarily a message for anybody who's already in a happy relationship, because you're really lucky, like you've already found your person. But this is for those who are questioning why they can't find the right person. Find beauty in something else. Like, guys will always be around. Like, there will be like an infinite amount of guys for you to speak to. Like, I literally sat at home and moped about a guy for 2 years straight because he didn't choose me and he ended up choosing another girl. And I look back and I'm just like, why did I waste 2 years of my life like looking over a guy that obviously didn't choose me? And that's all you need to know. Someone didn't choose you. That's it. Nothing you can do will change their mind, and it's fine, and it's totally fine. Don't think that by doing this or dressing a certain way or looking a certain way will get their attention, because it never does. And obviously it sounds probably very like obvious to a lot of people, but for me at the time, I just thought if I looked hotter, if I did this, if I went this, I was smarter, if I posted this on my stories, it would like intrigue them. But nothing you can do can change someone's mind. You can only be you and do the best that you can, and someone maybe will eventually come crawling back, which I'm not gonna lie, sometimes they do crawl back to you. But anyway, yeah, like when you're fucking thriving, people come crawling back. And I'm not talking about monetary success. I'm not talking about wearing head to toe designer and looking hot and looking beautiful. I'm talking about when you feel fucking amazing inside and you're so happy, and when you're spending time with your friends, you're like thriving and you're having the best time, people come crawling back, because that's the energy we want to surround ourselves with. And when you're insecure, even if you're wearing the hottest fucking outfit, people can feel that energy and people don't want to be around it. So that's why I always say fucking work on yourself, because when you do, people want to be around that energy. And in my early 20s, I didn't understand that concept, because I just thought being happy was looking hot and like looking pretty and feeling good, wearing the best outfit. But the truth is, when you go home after a Saturday night, you're in the pits again, because those things wash away. Designer clothes, like pretty clothing, you take that off, but what you're left with is what you're feeling inside. Okay, so I'm gonna go in with the Give Me Sun bronzer. I'm just gonna tap a little bit around the head around here. I'm not gonna use too much because I feel like I'm already pretty bronzed up from that from that Liquid Laguna that I used.
I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you've actually left them.
Next question is very similar. It is, what is the best life advice that you could give? I'm going to use this as an example, but really you can apply this to anything. I feel like if something in your life is constantly repeating itself, and its history is constantly repeating itself with like the boys that you talk to, or the friends that you're meeting, or like the money that you're making, what it means is that you're not learning a lesson from the problems that you previously had. For example, let me put this into context. You're constantly meeting the same type of guy that won't even reply to your text. He replies every fucking like 2 days, and then he'll just like hit you up at 10 p.m. when he wants to. So if you're constantly meeting people like that, it means that you're constantly seeking out people like that. Or it means that you're constantly surrounding yourself with people like that, and you keep hanging out with the same crowd, and you keep sort of drawing your eye to the same kind of person with the same kind of look. I know it sounds very like quick to judge, but most of the time like fuckboys are very easy to spot. I can tell you that now. You need to change your habits, because you can't keep blaming the universe and saying that they keep bringing you fuckboys. You keep getting yourself in the same sort of position because you keep seeking out the same sort of look, same sort of personality. You need to change it up, because you need to break the cycle. If you find yourself in the same position, you need to change something that you're doing. And this doesn't always apply to everything. Some things are just really bad luck, and I completely understand that. But then a lot of the time when it comes to boys in particular, like if you're meeting the same person, you're doing the same things. You're enabling their behavior, or you're just going for the same kind of person. And that just puts you in this perpetual cycle of dealing with the same bullshit.
Get in, loser, we're going shopping.
The next question I realized is just the same thing. What advice would you give your 19-year-old self? Travel more, stress less, save money, 100%. I think that's one thing. I think when I was 19, I was so flexible with my money. I was always willing to go out, spend money, buy nice things, But looking back at it now, I think a lot of people in my age group are much more ahead of me in terms of being financially stable. So that's one thing I regret. Just not trying to keep up with the Joneses. I think when you're fresh out of high school, you really want to just enjoy the financial freedom you have from having a part-time job or like a casual job. But best thing I could give you is that buying all those clothes and looking hot as shit, like in 5 or 10 years time, it doesn't mean anything. I think until you're really financially stable, then you can enjoy those pleasures of life. That's the one thing I would say to myself. Fucking save money, because life is hard and COVID is going to be a thing that will occur and you're going to wish you saved those pennies. So that's one thing I would say to my 19-year-old self, to be honest. And I'm using the Mario palette again, and I'm just going to use the color on the edge there, and I'm just going to use it to blend in my lash line. I'm not going to do anything too crazy or heavy. I just want to make my eyes look a little bit bigger. I'm going to run a bit of mascara through my lashes. Someone said,
oh, it's the Botox. I can't show emotion for another hour and a half.
how did you slim your face down so much? Do you have any secrets? Now, my face used to be huge, and I'm probably going to attach a little picture for anybody who's watching who hasn't seen my face, but my face was massive. Like, I would contour so much and my face would still be huge. But my face was like probably the one thing I was really insecure about. I felt like my face was really round, and like I would always take pictures only on the side, and I still can only take pictures on the side like that. I would usually just prefer if people just looked at me on the side or like spoke to me on the side, which is so bizarre. Anyway, biggest insecurity to the point where I actually booked in to get Botox injections into my masseters, which is the muscle on your jawline, which gives you the ability to like chew, speak and whatnot. And it's basically the main muscle that controls the jaw. And when that gets overused through like speaking and eating, it becomes enlarged. As with any muscle that you work on, it just becomes bigger. And when you get Botox, it relaxes that muscle, and so it slims down the entire jaw. I booked it in, I didn't have enough money, and I was like, I can just hold off for a couple of years at least. Cancelled it. A couple months later, I ended up getting my braces on, and within 3 to 4 months of having my braces on, my jaw completely changed. Like, I couldn't even believe it. A girl from work actually told me that my jaw would change. Didn't even believe her, because I was like, I've never even heard of anybody saying that, so that's bizarre. My jaw had completely changed. It just slimmed down completely, and even at that point, it wasn't even in its slimmest form, but I was like, wow, I actually have a jawline. Like, it's insane. And I loved it. Like, if my jawline ever went back to what it was before, I would literally get Botox again. Or not again, but like I would literally get Botox just to achieve what I have now, because I never want to go back to what it was. I was so insecure at the time. So I'm all for like injectables and doing whatever the fuck you want with your face, because it has changed my self-esteem, my confidence completely. I just genuinely don't have secrets. Honestly, if I did get Botox at some point later down the track, if my jaw decides to get round again, I will definitely document it, but I have nothing to hide. I think sometimes when I look at pictures even, I'm like, fuck, people must think I have like fillers or Botox or whatever. But I'm a pretty open book, as you can tell. Like, I just have nothing to hide. So if I was to get it, I would definitely share it, but I haven't got anything, so I can't speak on experience. But just know that I was very close to getting Botox into my jaw, and I was just so happened to cancel it and got braces later on down the track, and it just changed my jaw anyway. So yeah. So I'm going to do the color Spiffy. So I'm just going to do the outskirts of my lip, I think, and I'm just going to put gloss in the middle. Keep it nice and simple. This is the Maybelline Ice Gloss. My lips probably look a bit uneven because my top lip's a bit darker, so I probably should do something about that. I might just take a little bit off the top lip. I'm going to put Backseat Love in the center. It kind of just brings out the pink in my lips again. I'm going to do it to the top. See how my lips are even again because I just put the pink back in. My lips naturally at the top are really dark. And then you can go back in with the gloss and do whatever you want.
All right, let's see those pearly whites.
Lastly, I'm going to do my brows. I have a couple more questions, but I'm almost done. Someone else said to me, I'm really insecure with my teeth and I can't afford braces. My parents never let me get braces when I was in high school. That was mainly my mum's doing. She was just really concerned about me not eating and growing and being able to focus at school, so I never got braces. As the years passed, as I left school, I just became more and more insecure about my teeth, and I feel like if you're unhappy with something, you have the right to like do something about it. It's in your control, it's in your hands. Boob job, lip fillers, braces, whatever it is. It's interesting because like on one hand, I'm all for like, be happy with who you are for now, like be happy with who you are first, because those things don't really fix who you are. And I agree to some extent that changing physical attributes about yourself don't make your life better. But if you're already like so full with, you know, who you are as a person, you're really happy with your job, career, this, that, doing those little things, like it's just like a little cherry on top. So if you really want to get your braces done, and I paid $8,000, I paid it in payments. So I paid it every quarterly. I would pay like $800. If you really want it, you'll make money for it. Trust me, like anything that you want, you will definitely make room for it, and you will definitely find a way to pay for it. It's just so worth it. Also, just prioritize, like, so maybe sometimes aesthetics isn't always like necessary at the time. If your family is struggling, like maybe it's not the best time to pour $8,000 into braces. That can always wait. The orthodontist will always be there. You can always get dental treatment like for the rest of your life. So just prioritize things. At the time, I wasn't really saving for anything in particular, so I thought braces was the way to go, and it was a long-term investment for me. So the other question was, what other hobbies do you have other than skincare and makeup? I used to love the gym a lot, like going to the gym, and working out. I went to a boxing gym for years, and then I ended up moving to like a Muay Thai gym closer to my home, and I got trained by an amazing trainer who I kind of miss because he trained me really well, and he taught me how to like fight like a fighter pretty much. And that's the one thing I miss, and that's the only other thing that I've ever really loved as much as like skincare and makeup was like working on that part of my life. It gave me some sort of control when things were spiraling. I literally live and breathe this skincare and makeup page that I'm working on for you guys. Like, I think about it day and night. Like, I always have to think about the next like content I'm going to make. Is it going to be interesting? How am I going to present the content? I think my sole purpose right now is really just this page, and I am so grateful that it exists, and I'm so grateful for the little community that I have, and I never take anything for granted because, you know, I know for a fact that you can post the best thing in the world and have so many hits and views and likes, and the next day it's like you're only as good as your last post, and people can just forget about you in an instant. So for me, I'm always trying to think of how I can better the content, and sometimes I just have really dry spells, but that's my hobby. Like, I live and breathe it right now. That's all I want to do. So I'm going to put it in a bit of brow gel, and I'm going to pop it on a spoolie. I only use a little tiny bit, and I just brush it in like that.
This is what you do when you don't want a date with a guy who been bothering you.
The next question was, what's the worst makeup trend you have tried or done? I can think of this one straight away because it's just, I look back in photos and I think like, what the hell was I thinking? But the very overdrawn block brow using the Anastasia brow pomade, like, oh, why did I do that? Like, I prefer my brows to be much more like hair-like now. And I feel like even in the past like year or two, it's still been pretty blocky, but I used a pencil. But the brow pomade was like something else. I look back in photos and I'm like, I can't believe my friends let me walk out like that. It's insane. It's just some of the photos, all I can see are my brows. I can't see any other feature on my face other than my brows. And I'm just gonna contour my nose and I'm pretty much done. I'm using this one here. I think it's Wedge. The last question is, do you judge people if their makeup is bad? I absolutely do not judge people if their makeup is bad. Like, makeup isn't a skill that's taught to us in school. People pretty much just have to like guess how to do it. People just get taught what their mums taught, or like what their sisters taught. Like, you don't have a makeup class that you can learn from in high school where you can perfect your foundation or get a flawless base or get the perfectly lined lips or get the perfectly stuck on lashes. Like, it's not my place to judge people on how they do their makeup. When people ask for help, like, you help them. People that put on makeup, even if it's a shitty application in your eyes, they've obviously chosen to wear it for the day because it makes them feel confident. And I think that's just like the most important thing at the end of the day is like, you can dislike or not like that application method or think it's too heavy or it's too much, but if they felt shit about themselves, they probably wouldn't be wearing it. So obviously it makes them feel good, and who are we to judge them for their application method or color that they've chosen or whatever. I'm gonna brush my hair out in a second, but I'm just gonna spray my face. I'm gonna spray this side. I hope you guys liked that video. I know it was a little bit chaotic. I just literally have never filmed a Get Ready With Me before, and I don't know how to lay it out. But if you have any feedback, can you please message me or comment? I hope you enjoyed it and learned a little bit about me at least. And this is just a part 1. I still have so many more questions to pump through in a part 2, so it will be coming soon. So any feedback would be fantastic. But I will see you in the next video.
If you let me, feeling like Jericho, feeling like Joe when he lost his shit, got it on my own. my cross to bear alone now. Ooh.